Hello, my name is Ray Salazar, and this is Morning Reel, a 3 to 4 to 100-minute or so podcast of films that I review. Happy 420, everybody. And you know what's funny? I haven't smoked since 12. I took a mushroom, but that's pretty much it. But today, I am here to review Pineapple Express. Yeah, that's my Seth Rogan impression. Pineapple Express is a 2008 American stoner action comedy film directed by David Gordon Green, written by Seth Rogan and Evan Goldberg, story by Judd Apatow, Seth Rogan, and Evan Goldberg, produced by Judd Apatow and Shauna Robertson, starring Seth Rogan, James Franco, Gary Cole, Rosie Perez, Danny McBride, Craig Robinson, and Bill Hader, who played a pretty good fucking role of a military dude getting high and being high, I guess, which in some weird way kind of ruined it for everybody, right? Cinematography by Tim Orr, edited by Craig Alpert, music by Grammy Revell. Production companies Columbia Pictures, Relativity Media, Apatow Productions, distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. Yeah, this film came out in 2008, time that was way before legalization in America. Well, in California, rather. It's a very simple film. It's about this process server. He witnesses a crime committed by a cop. He freaks out. He goes to his dealer, and things just pile on top of each other, one after another. This film is the modern day Cheech and Chong film without being a Cheech and Chong film. You know, Cheech and Chong is very obviously animated, comedic. They like to slapstick. Great. This film, a little bit more edgy, a little bit more explicit. It's funny. There's a lot of good action sequences. And you know what I noticed about David Gordon Green's like direction, or rather, the way he transitions one scene to another scene is through a montage. I like David Gordon Green's work, especially his first two films being George Washington and All the Real Girls. It is so great that you can still see some of those indie filmmaking / French New Wave techniques in the film that I just saw, which is Pineapple Express, especially in the montage-esque type of scenes where two characters are enjoying the simplicity of life, or rather just enjoying the peacefulness of what their situation is. And it's a pretty fucked up situation. I mean, they're out to get murdered because of a crime they committed, and all that stuff. Typical drug dealer crime shit where someone's got to go, man. Someone's got to go. But yeah, man, the montages where they're just out being high, smoking, enjoying life in the woods, giving a shotgun to a caterpillar. And it's so wholesome and, funny at the same time. I miss that about David Gordon Green. I wish he can come back and make the films like he made George Washington to be and All the Real Girls to be. Given the fact that Danny McBride, who's a frequent collaborator with David Gordon Green, I mean, it's going to be funny and it's going to be a little reckless. David Gordon Green knows how to do comedy. Seth Rogan and James Franco, obviously, they go well together as far as collaborators in comedy and acting. They do a good job playing, the stoner buddy role. I like seeing Seth Rogan sort of being Seth Rogan. And it's funny because Seth Rogan is Seth Rogan in almost all of his films, but it's funny to see him in a weed film because, everybody knows that he's a stoner, dude. He smokes. Supposedly he's one of the biggest stoners on earth or in America. I don't know about that. I know a couple of people who could probably outsmoke him, but who's to say that they can or they can't? Whatever. He is part of the same team. I like Seth Rogen. James Franco, he's pretty cool, laid back stoner, at least, pretending to be one. But that's the thing about these type of films, man. It's hard sometimes to take it seriously because we don't know how good of a stoner they're playing. It doesn't really take anything to play a stoner, especially like a stoner in trouble or anything like that. But it's those fun comedies that you just sit back, unwind, have a couple of joints, and just enjoy the whole ride. And that's what this film is, Pineapple Express. It's in the title. It's cool. I had some laughs. I mean, I haven't seen this film honestly since it came out. Like, to see it from the beginning to end, I have not seen it since then. I've seen parts of it. It's funny because they don't really play that film, you know, in those television networks like AMC or USA, TNT, all those like networks that, show films like every weekend and sometimes the same freaking film, you know? Not seen Pineapple Express there. I've seen it maybe on like Showtime or Stars or whatever. But like I said, I've not seen it all the way through. Rosie Perez, a G playing a corrupted cop, and she no take no shit from nobody, man. And I like that. I mean, it's a good cast, David Gordon Green did a good job in the casting process because these characters do come to life. They make the film very enjoyable to look at and you know, to comprehend, especially because I like the fact that they like to play out the stigmas of the consumption of marijuana and its quote unquote dangers, leading to like other drugs like cocaine, crack, shit like that. And not only that, also talking about how, made weed makes you a little dysfunctional. It kind of kills your, how you operate in life, whether it's with yourself, other people, at a job. I like that. I like the debate and how the characters play them out without actually going too direct about it. So, in other words, that's due to the writing. It's pretty good writing. Screenplay itself it's okay. It's not a bad script. It's pretty good. It's cool how they tie all these events together, how the characters are connected as far as like who they are, what they do, and the results of certain actions like the crime that's in the first act. Really good acts too. Like you can tell when the first act goes to the second and to the third. The flaws though, I mean, I've mentioned it, but I guess my biggest thing is just, should Amber Heard have been in this film? Or rather, should her character be the character that she was in this film? I don't know. I'm not saying she was miscasted for the role. I feel like they could have wrote a better part for her. Even though the part that she has is pretty fucking like hilarious and like cringe because you have an 18-year-old high school student going out with a 25-year-old process server. That itself is great. I wish they could put more into that. But, it had to be a stoner comedy. Not all of it has to make sense. So, honestly, as much as I enjoy this film, it's hard for me to give it a straight fucking score. It's a hard one, man. But because it's 420 and I'm being nice and I haven't had any weed yet, I'm just going to give it a 3. Reality, I should be giving it a 2.5 because all in all, that's the type of film it is. It is a 2.5-star film, but it's an enjoyable 2.5-star film. So you know what? I'm going to give it 2.5 stars, but it's an enjoyable, 2.5 tokes. I'm going to give it 2.5 tokes. But regardless of the 2.5 tokes, I like this movie. And the reason why I say that, why I like this movie, besides the fact that it's a 2.5-star film to me, one of my favorite comedies of all time is Freddy Got Fingered by Tom Green. And as far as the consensus goes for critics, it is one of the worst movies ever made, but it has a legacy. It's hilarious. I think it's the Tim and Eric before Tim and Eric of films. So, thank you for listening. My name is Ray Salazar. Follow me on Morning Shot Films on IG and YouTube. Rate and review this podcast called Morning Real. It's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Google Podcasts, iHeart, YouTube, Spreaker, Deezer. No Spotify. I don't do Spotify, so you can't find me there. But oh well, you can find these other platforms. Next week, I will be reviewing a film with Xavier Guerrero, also known as XG, who is part of the Tinfoil Hat podcast with Sam Tripoli, part of the George Perez Stories podcast with comedian, actor, producer George Perez. We will be reviewing the film Irreversible, directed by Gaspar Noé. If you know anything about Gaspar Noé or the film Irreversible, it is one of the craziest films ever written by a Frenchman because it does not hide. It's in your face. It is merciless. And I'm not saying we should see films that are like that, but it's very important to understand the human condition. Also, being that it's a double feature, La Haine, another French film with Vincent Cassel. I've always wanted to see it. I've never seen it, and I'm glad that we're going to watch these films in 35 millimeter at the New Bev Theater. So you know what? Shout out to Quentin Tarantino. On to the next one.